the whole podcast. We're just going to have to do this.
For our most requested song of the night, the #1 hit.
Coming at you again for the 34th time. This is
cheap-ass Bullshirt podcast.
Royalty-free
Took Adam
stock music.
6 minutes to create, royalty-free fucking intro music.
The intro
all
music
right,
brought
guys.
to you by Incompetech.
Incompetech. I'm going to buy that now. Incompetech.
No, that's a royalty-free music. It's been around forever. The
Really?
dude just makes like ridiculous amounts of okay music that you have to credit him to use. Yeah,
That's great. Well, fuck him because we made our own.
that's
So-
right. That's right. We have a producer on deck,
On deck.
but I
Right.
did it anyway.
Right, but instead of getting him, we had Adam do it. So it's it's just cheaper that way. So I got up this morning and went to listen to NPR. Right. To see if there was anything, I haven't been keeping up on news this week. And the whole fucking thing, they were streaming Ruth Bader Ginsburg's memorial. Now,
Yeah.
I'm
They'll do that.
I think I think she was an awesome person. I think she did a lot for women's rights. I have nothing against her. I don't want people to think I do. But what I don't need is to get up at, 7:00 in the morning on my day off and tune into a fucking funeral. So it was like, because there's the piano and the singing and the eulogy. And I'm just like, no, God, no.
I wanted
So-
information. What is this?
And again, like I said, it's a historical event. First female to be laid in state, which is kind of fucked up if you think about it. But it just, a funeral is not how I want to start my morning.
Well, it's not about you, Dan. It's not fucking about you, okay?
In my life, it is about me. So
No.
Well, with NPR, anytime there's like any kind of big government thing going on, they're going to have live coverage. It's just part of the deal.
Yeah, and I get it. I'm sure all the news, if I would have went to any news outlet, I'm sure I wound up listening to CNBC's stock reports or whatever, which was probably about as equally interesting, almost as fucking depressing, but still not as bad as tuning in and listening to a
You
fucking
chose to
funeral.
listen to stock reports.
Well, interestingly enough, there's a decent podcast topic because shit is about to get real interesting because Republicans are determined, in spite. This is my favorite thing about this shit is them talking about going ahead and filling the seat, and it's their constitutional duty and all of that. And then the next thing they show is a clip of them 4 years ago talking about Merrick Garland, where, they were going to let the people decide and it was too close to an election and they didn't want to make it about politics and blah, 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 blah. So all of that shit's really interesting. And as far as like from the Republican side, they've kind of, obviously whatever suits them at the moment is what they're going with. And I'm not going to say that any political party is above that. But shit is about to get real fun because the Democrats have basically threatened that if you go ahead and do this, the Congress has some really unique powers that Democrats may actually for once be about to flop their dick on the table. That's going to be interesting.
I don't understand how creating states is going to change anything.
It's because it will change the balance of power in the Senate. The thing is most of the time when one party comes in and they get more senators than the other side, you've got, most of the time it's, a good majority for them is 53 senators on one side. So it's not a really huge majority.
Right.
And you've got states like Alabama, which weirdly enough, I can't remember the Democratic senator's name from Alabama, but the smart money is on him going out. Him getting in was kind of a fluke because he went up against Roy fucking Moore, who was just an
about that.
epic piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's another one of those weird people where he has a very high floor when it comes to his approval, but he also has a very low ceiling. He has a very specific group that he appeals to, and they're pretty much zealots for that shit. But he does not appeal to anybody else, and the only reason that guy won was because he went up against him. And the two places they're talking about making states are more or less kind of Democratic strongholds. You've got Washington, D.C., which has had a non-voting member of Congress for years that Republicans still manage to bitch about. She doesn't have a vote, but they still manage to bitch about Maxine Waters. They've been bitching about Maxine Waters for more than 20 years. So they're talking about making that a state, which would give them 2 more seats in the Senate. And then they're also talking about making Puerto Rico a state, which would probably give them 2 more seats in the Senate.
Fuck yeah.
Puerto Rico should be a fucking state.
I think it should be. Puerto Rico has been getting a shitty deal for a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, we were like, it's kind of like an abusive relationship where the guy says, I can go do what I want, but you're my bitch and you can't date anybody else. Like no one else could come in and be like, okay, we're going to take Puerto Rico and make it, an island for fuck, I don't know, Russia or somebody. We'll just throw that out there. Right. But we won't commit. We won't put a ring on it, and that's just, it's fucked up.
Yeah. And the whole thing about it is the way the whole Puerto Rico deal is structured. Dude, it's fucked up. If I remember right, I could be wrong, but I don't think their votes count in a presidential election because of the way that they're set up. They do have the benefit of automatically being United States citizens, which is unique for a U.S. colony / territory, whatever you'd like to call it.
But they don't get any federal money or help for anything.
They also get fucked because of the way a lot of the trade agreements and whatnot are set up. There's like only a handful of companies that can deliver shit to the island. So since it can only go through those handful of companies, they fuck everyone through the eyeballs.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it
sounds pretty aggressive.
Yeah, and regardless of what financial situation they get themselves in, they're not allowed to file bankruptcy. They have no bankruptcy protection whatsoever because of the way that their whole deal was structured, which put them in a weird position. I think it was about 10 years ago, 20 years ago. What they did is they made a deal where they made Puerto Rican bonds exempt from taxes, exempt from federal taxes, exempt from local and state. So you had a lot of people that were buying Puerto Rican debt because also at the time it was AAA rated. So you've got all this investment money that's coming in, and they had set up some unique policies at one time to where a lot of pharmaceutical companies set up shop out there because they were able to do it cheaper over there because there were some tax breaks, there was some government subsidies, there was a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
And when those got yanked, it basically pulled the rug out from up under their economy, and that's what a lot of this debt stuff, what a lot of these bonds were basically financed off of us because they had all these pharmaceutical companies on the island. And then when the pharmaceutical companies pulled up and got the fuck out of town, their income sort of fell off the table.
So all in all, Puerto Rico's getting a great deal. That's what I
according to
Donald
the white
Trump.
people that fucking run it. Yeah.
So my server got fucking hacked over the weekend.
Well, you make it sound server like, it's your own personal room full of computing power.
It is much like a supercomputer. I had to get a 3-bedroom apartment, one for my bedroom, and then 2 to hold the server.
Right.
It's that big.
And by hacked, I mean I set the password to be password, and then someone got in and launched a DDoS attack from it because the password was password.
How weird. I mean, that someone would be able to figure out that your password was password. It reminds me of Spaceballs when they want the password to the fucking force field.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right. That's the what is it? That's a combination for my luggage.
So apparently what got into it was the Mirai botnet, which was the thing that hit in 2016 and took down like half the internet. And I didn't think anything would really be looking at my server, but apparently that motherfucker just scans random IPs till it finds one that it can connect to. So it found mine and just automatically logged in.
Yeah, that's what it does. Are you familiar with what's referred to as the internet toaster experiment?
Not until you told me about it, but it makes sense.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, the internet toaster experiment is hooking up a computing device with no protections on it whatsoever to the internet and seeing how long it is before it gets hacked. In today's world, it's usually a matter of hours.
Yeah, I think when they actually hooked up their device, it was 40 minutes and someone was already in it.
And again, like you said, primarily or presumably automated, right?
Yeah.
Just people don't realize that there are servers, lots and lots of servers out there that all they're doing is looking for shit they can get into. People have a very some folks, the internet is magic, television is magic, telephones are magic, and I get it. I do. We're all in the tech industry, so we're nerds by nature, I think, a little bit.
Shittiest hip hop band ever.
Nerd by nature. What up?
Nerd by nature. Okay.
I'm writing a script on these motherfuckers.
Don't make me pull out Notepad on your ass. Notepad plus, motherfucker.
Plus, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I bought an expensive air intake for my motorcycle, and it doesn't appear that I can bolt it on without more parts that I didn't pay any attention to needing. So,
oops.
So we went from internet and hacking to Dan needs more bolts.
I need more bolts. Well,
he needs more. We need to add more bolts to Dan.
I didn't want Adam to feel like he's the only incompetent person on this podcast today.
Hey, it wasn't incompetence. All right, I got hacked. They got past my many, many layers of security on my server.
Well, for those of you out there who are unaware, a lot of people have a lot of glorified notions of hackers, and I attribute that mainly due to Hollywood, where you've got this guy that sits down in front of a computer and he magically types 240 words a minute, and he's sitting there and he's just blasting passwords and usernames and everything else, and he's just got this magic list.
Hacking the fucking Gibson, baby.
Yeah, he's literally hacking the Gibson, whatever the fuck the Gibson is.
Hacking the Gibson.
But in reality, what's going on is there are a lot of things available on the dark web, as I'm sure that you're all aware of. But the dark web, they also sell a lot of hacking kits. So basically, you buy, I'll just make one up here, Hackbot, 3.75, and you get out there and you run Hackbot 3.75 and just let it go nuts. And it comes out, brings things back to you, and you have to have zero ability whatsoever. You could be the type of schmuck that does not know shit about fuck and still hack things.
Yeah, there was maybe about 10 years ago, there was a exe file that went around on 4chan. It wasn't on the dark web. Someone just put it on 4chan, hosted it somewhere, and was like, download this. And it would literally just send a DDoS from your computer to whatever fucking website you typed in. Because all it did was just send like null fucking data to a website over and over until it went down.
Well, that's another one, right? You hear DDoS, and denial of service, and I like when the news covers that stuff, and they make it sound so complicated and intricate.
How we did this. Anybody can do that.
It's DDoS is really just a capacity issue, right? If you every website out there is just someone's server, and it's just files. You're just browsing files on somebody else's computer. And if someone can manage to get, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of computers hitting a server, it doesn't always take millions, though. I mean, if you can get a large number of computers to hit the same server at the same time, it runs out of capacity. And so when you try to get on, you're trying to go to whatever site you're going to. It won't let you because there's just no room for you on the bus.
Like trying to merge onto I-85 at 5 o'clock.
Right. And it's just, it's funny because I see the news when they cover it, and they, again, like you said, like there's some sort of fucking elite hacker.
Fucking Mr. Robot's slamming away at a fucking terminal. All right, I got this.
Yeah, I got this. I'm in.
Well, the scary thing about the particular botnet that got into my shit is that it's open source. So you could just go download it, no payment, and you can edit it to do whatever the fuck you want it to do. But you could download it and just run it with no changes, and it would do the exact same job.
It would create some chaos and some havoc, right?
Yeah.
And the dark web, that's another one that amuses the fuck out of me. The dark web, and it's always Hacker Man, with his hoodie. I don't know why hackers wear hoodies so much. I'm not really sure why that's the standard.
Because they're anemic.
Uniform, is that what is the kid?
Because they're skinny and anemic.
But the dark web, again, it's like having an unlisted phone number, right? You've got the internet's got DNS servers, and there's a ton of your IP addresses are saved here and there. And when I go to, Facebook, it looks it up by a number, not by facebook.com. The computers themselves don't read. They look for numbers, and those numbers are stored places like in a big internet phone book. Well, you've got stuff like the dark web. They're sort of unlisted, right? Of course, I'm simplifying it because I don't need to sit here and get fucking, nerd cred.
I just love how mystical people make that. They're like, it's the dark web.
Right. I mean, technically, I could have a file, I could be hosting a file on my computer that no one knows about but Adam, and you could call that the dark web, It just amuses me, again, how they mystify it and make it so very the dark web. That's my favorite part about it,
Yeah, like your emails are the dark web, your fucking Nest camera is dark web or deep web. Anything that you can't find on Google by searching it is
basically dark web. Yeah, absolutely. But again, that's how the news does, right?
The dark web,
the scary dark web. Yeah,
ooh, spooky. There's scary websites on the regular internet too.
I've got Wise Cams, Nest. I've got a slew of fucking smart bulbs. Adam is counting down the days until someone finally hacks one
into
of my
your
bulbs.
Fucking light bulbs. Yeah. Fucking hilarious.
Which actually happened back years ago when they first came out. I don't remember who the first company was that got real popular with the light bulbs and all that stuff, or the toaster. But I know that refrigerators have been hacked. I think it was Samsung. They had their refrigerators hacked. And then, yes, somebody used a light bulb to actually get into someone's network. And from there, they were able to get into their PC and steal data, etc. So it's the Internet of Things has come a long way. But I used to work with a guy that he saw something once and shared it. He said, the S in IoT stands for security. And of course, you say, well, Dan, there is no S in IoT. And he said, exactly.
Exactly.
So
Well, that's the thing, dude. They say there's like 69 billion fucking IoT devices now.
Yeah.
That's fucking scary, dude. Like, imagine if someone got into all of those and launched a distributed attack on somebody. There'd be no fucking way to stop it.
Well, at 69 billion, it wouldn't have to be a somebody. It could be we're going to attack this entire arm of internet traffic and just shut down practically. I mean, it would at 69 billion, you could shut down pretty much every popular internet service there is if you could snake your way into all of them and just blast them all at the same time.
Yeah, but there's ways of shutting all that down too, I mean, but right, there would be some relatively serious consequences while you're waiting on someone to fix it,
Sorry, I just looked it up. I'm wrong. It's only 26 billion as of 2019.
Oh, then
only 26 billion.
Your fucking credibility is shot with me, then, bud. I don't
Well, it should have been shot when I told you I set my fucking password to password.
Like that's still three almost four devices for every person on the planet.
Oh shit! I've got about a dozen smart bulbs. So I mean, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. It does not surprise me at all. I don't worry too much about it. It's just like with the cameras, people are always, I can't believe that, you have all these cameras and stuff. And I'm like, well, the majority of them point outside. 2, if Chinese hackers want to watch me fucking sleep or sit here and do this podcast, more power to them. So Chinese hackers, because
we got them, boys.
That's what people don't realize either, is that there is this silent ongoing war, right, that most people don't know about between countries like China, Russia, the United States, constantly beating up on each other in what they refer to as cyber warfare, which again is a fun word, cyber war. It's a bunch of fucking nerds throwing garbage at each other's servers, trying to either get into them and steal data or just cripple them, just oversubscribe them to where no one else can get into them. Again, it's not as scary and fucking heinous as everybody makes it out to be. T2000s or whatever aren't marching down the fucking streets. That's not the AI you have to worry about, right? It's the all three of us recently watched The
Social
Dilemma. And a lot of it, again, we're nerds. We get into this stuff. So a lot of us already knew about Facebook and some of the more nefarious parts of social media. But the one thing that I didn't know about, I had no idea about, was how the AI, because they are using artificial intelligence, and it imperceptibly kind of steers your views where they want them by just very mildly suggesting new things until they've kind of got you doing, in these rabbit holes, right? Yeah. And I guess I never realized that. I still point back to what Adam said, I think last podcast, about how I asked, where are all of our middle ground peeps at? And he said, well, middle ground peeps don't get onto social media and pop off at the fucking mouth, right? Yeah. That's not what they do.
Don't see them because they're not vocal, because
they realize it doesn't fucking matter if you...
The middle doesn't lend itself to being a vocal asshole.
Right. If you're a Democrat and you want to sit and bitch about Trump and the Republicans, fine, but you're not going to change a Democrat's mind, and you're probably not going to change a guy like me who's middle ground. You're probably not going to sway me over to your side either.
You're better off dropping off a religious pamphlet in the bathroom of the church.
I like that analogy. Actually, that makes a lot of sense, right? Writing "Jesus saves" on the bathroom stall
Have
and be
you
like,
ever been taking a shit and seen a religious pamphlet on the floor and gone, well, gee whiz, I never looked at it like that.
right, covered in
Nobody. It's
urine in a
never
used
worked on
condom.
anybody. It's
If
literally never worked on a single
you don't
person.
know that, you don't know that. If one person, man, if one person,
If one person is swayed by a pamphlet in the piss covered bathroom floor, then yeah, they're pretty dumb, yes.
they were probably searching already. Um, yeah, social media is pretty interesting, and I think that again, when people think of AI, they think of this supercomputer launching nuclear missiles, and like I said, the whole Terminator / war games. Um, there's a movie I'm surprised they haven't fucking remade yet.
Oh, war
Um,
games. It's too close
yeah,
to reality.
right. Now it'd be like, yeah, that's not fun. That's
Can't do that. We can't do that anymore.
there's the AI is so much more subtle than that, and
Mm-hmm. It's little gentle nudges, dude. And the thing is what it's doing the whole time. That let's say in the classic scenario, that if there is anyone here or anyone listening that uses YouTube at all, and let's
Wait,
say
what? What's that?
what?
You what?
what is this
YouTube?
tube that you watch? What is this?
YouTube?
Anyway,
Being dumb, Doug.
Is that like
now that
Pornhub?
Adam's being, yeah, yeah, give yourself a verbal diarrhea.
I'm so sorry.
Verbal diarrhea.
All right, but anyone who's got on YouTube, you needed to find something, how to bake a cake, how to fix your fucking dishwasher, whatever else. You get on there, and it is YouTube. What they want is they want your eyes on ads. So the very first thing that comes up on the splash page is it's taking your entire YouTube viewing history and saying, okay, he normally likes to watch videos like this. So they'll put a shitload of them up on the splash page, and there's all sorts of keywords and everything else that it's using, and its own recognition software, the whole nine, to recognize some of what's in these videos. And as opposed to looking up the thing for the dishwasher that you intended, you wind up clicking on one of those videos. And then what it starts doing is, okay, based on his history, he likes this kind of video, and this kind of video, and this kind of video, and this kind of video. And Dan's classic example is, before you know it, 2 hours later, I was sitting there watching videos of talking giraffes.
Wound up, yeah. Was looking for a tutorial on how to fix my motorcycle, and 3 hours later, I'm watching how to talk to giraffes. And it does happen, and it's like, how the hell did I get here? But again, that's the whole point of the algorithm, the AI, right? Is it's trying to keep your eyes on the media, which is not, in and of itself, that is not as nefarious as it may sound, because of the fact that newspapers and TV news and radio, everyone's been trying to do it. That's what ads are all about, right?
Yeah, radio is, yeah, they were doing it forever. Cranking the volume, playing everything to get your attention, every sound effect they had on board, fucking, everything they have, air horns, weenie in the butt, fucking
You have been dying
soundboard.
to use that, haven't you?
I have, yes, I have.
Good call, sir.
Well, and see,
Dingo and the baby.
The baby.
And that's the thing. I would recommend that everybody watch The Social Dilemma, and it's that's the hypothesis about where the people in the center have gone. Because as we've discussed before, everybody's got a little bit of confirmation bias. And what tends to happen with a lot of these people when they start paying attention to political things, it notices what you're paying attention to politically, and then, much like YouTube and the talking giraffe, regardless of whether it's Facebook, YouTube, or whatever else, it leads you further and further down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, and my thing is, they paint it to be really nefarious, but it's just good business to keep people, when you're in the content business, to keep people looking at your content and watching ads. I don't think it's a big fucking Illuminati conspiracy that they want you
No,
staring at your phone. It's just them trying to make money.
right.
No, it's the way the rules are structured. That's the only place that it can come to.
Yeah.
It's when you set up the game and you set up the rules that way, then that's what's going to inevitably happen. And if a lot of people that invented a lot of these platforms, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, the whole nine, a lot of them had these idealistic visions of what stuff would be used for. But because of the way that the rules are structured currently in this game, that was what was going to happen all along.
Yeah, and I think, again, like you said, I think that's the problem, is not that it's like the shit needs to come with a disclaimer, like if you give the average human being a bunch of salty, fatty, sugary foods, right? They're going to eat them. They're going to consume them. And there's been tons of studies done on dopamine and social media, right? The people that need that they need that validation that someone approves of and or agrees with them, right? Oh, I did a thing and everyone agrees with me, so I'm right. And there's a validation point there. Again, numerous studies. So it's almost like smoking, right? Because you've got a habitual thing combined with a chemical thing, the habitual being just being on the phone. I deleted social media off my phone for a while and noticed that like my screen time, according to my Apple, that it fucking just tanked, right? It was just like I was never on my phone anymore. And there are some interesting little skits, if you will, in that Social Dilemma, where they have the Facebook guys or whatever. They're
the guys playing the
although
AI.
he hasn't been press. They press the button and the phone goes bzz, and gets the person to interact with it, and it's like a drug dealer, so you got to be careful. And I think that I think about it. I've always said that I couldn't imagine growing up as a tween or a teenager with fucking social media, because I'm 45 years old and I find myself spending more fucking time on it than I'm comfortable with sometimes, right? I will go through, I'll be sitting here bored, lounging around, and I'll go through the, Facebook, Instagram, even Reddit, and I'll be like, ugh, nothing here. I'll toss the phone to the side and I'll be watching TV or something. And 5 minutes later, I will reach over like I'm grabbing a can of Coke and pick my phone up again and start cycling through. And it's like, dude, you just went through your phone 5 fucking minutes ago. Shit, sit that shit down.
There might be something new. There could be something new.
Right, there could be something new, exactly. And there's that dopamine hit that you're looking for. It's fascinating, man. It really is.
One of the interesting things from that documentary was, well, docudrama, I suppose, was like how them changing just the chronological order of your feed into like a featured feed on every social media app allowed them to show you new content every time you fucking refresh the page, even if there was really nothing new. It just showed you different shit.
I actually didn't catch that. I was watching it after work one night. I think it was last Wednesday, and I started to doze off towards the end of it. But I get where you're coming from with that, right? It's the same shit that was there. They just reordered it, and you go, oh, new content.
Oh, jeez. I'm a fucking dumbass.
That's fucked up.
The biggest problem I have with all of it, if the data were anonymized and not as targeted as it is, because right now it's like, we'll take the TV that I've got sitting in my living room, for example. I bought the fucking thing like 6 months ago, was wanting to get a new TV, and it's practically impossible at this point in time to buy a TV that is not a smart TV. And the TV that I chose to buy was Vizio. And Vizio had a class action lawsuit against them. It was either a year or two ago, to where there was no disclaimer in the very beginning that they were basically sniffing your traffic and using it to get you targeted ads and selling your data to advertisers. Now they're a lot more upfront that they can do it. You can opt in or you can opt out, what have you. But the thing is like, that's why TVs have gotten so cheap, because originally, for as long as TVs have been around in existence, up until about 4 years ago, TV manufacturers made the bulk of their profits from actually selling you the TV. They had their cost, and their cost had a lot to do with how many production lines they had producing this stuff, because, it's cheaper in volume.
Right.
So they would take the cost of the TV, add a certain amount of percent, and then push it off to retailers to go out and sell the things, and that's how they made their money. Well, they figured out that the margins on selling customer data was better than the margins on the television set. So what you're actually paying for a lot of smart TVs now is basically 10 to 15% over cost, just enough for them to get it to the store in the whole 9 yards so they can sell it to you. So then it can sniff your data, and then it turns around and it sells that data to Amazon, Netflix. Those are the big two.
I'm straight sniffing your data.
Yeah, I wish you could have seen the disgusting looks on their faces while they were doing that.
That was Adam's butt
That's
gerbil.
one thing that doesn't transfer in the podcast. Yeah, Lemmy winks. But that's how television the TV companies that make TVs are making their money nowadays, and that's why you can go out and buy a 65-inch 4K TV with a decent amount of features on it for $600 all day long.
Yeah, my buddy, he said he got a smart TV, and when you go to change like the inputs, like to change the literal fucking inputs on the TV, that little menu, there's an ad there. And if it can't connect to the internet, that menu won't load because it can't send you the ad.
Oh, that's interesting.
Fucking annoying.
Actually, the TV that I've got, this Vizio, one of the things that the TV will actually do now is if you're watching a linear broadcast off of your cable box, what have you, that's hooked up to your television set via HDMI, when they have a digital ad insertion, and there's little there are little data points buried inside that in the old days they used to call them Q tones, because like when you would be watching TV, you would literally hear a boop, and then an ad would pop on, and that boop was to tell the tape player to kick on and play the next ad. Well, in these TVs, when it detects that little piece of digital data, what it will do is it will actually go out, and as opposed to playing the ad that the station is playing that you're watching, Vizio will actually insert their own ad on top of your stuff if you give them permission to do so.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
What the fuck?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And think about it, as a TV manufacturer, you've kind of got the, what's the word I'm looking for? You got the shit on lockdown. right? Because your TV is
They got to use the fucking TV. I mean, if you have it, you have to use it.
exactly
Well, it's like tires on the car. It doesn't matter what you've got above that. You ain't got no tires. You ain't getting no fucking
right.
car.
That's awesome. I love it.
That's
I
funny
love
as
it.
fuck, dude.
Well,
Someone's
the old
paying good money for an ad spot on cable, and Vizio's like, "Nah, dude, nah."
right. We can trump that. It's yeah, that's fascinating. I didn't realize that. But the old saying goes, if something is free, if a product is free, then you're the product. And I don't think people truly. I think that the social media dilemma or whatever. I think the most important thing the reason I would want people to watch it is to understand how they're selling your data and why your usage data matters. So there was a project that DARPA, I'm a huge fan of DARPA. They do some really neat shit. And there was a DARPA project called LifeLog. And their entire goal was to basically gather all of the data on as many people as they could, right? Big data. And I've read a couple of books on big data and the fact that now you have the computing process, the processor powers to crunch the numbers of all this data you're getting where we didn't before. So a lot of civil liberties groups, civil rights groups, got involved with that. And they were like, whoa, time out. You can't just go absorbing everybody's data, right? DARPA is, I don't know if they're considered a government agency. They're definitely heavily funded by the government, right? So anyway,
it's like Defense Advanced Research Project something.
Yeah. So people freaked out about it. Do a little research and go look at when DARPA shut down LifeLog and when Facebook was born. It's a matter of a couple months. And it's a lot easier for a private company to do it than it is for a government to do it.
Yeah. And I don't think Dan's suggesting anything like, that DARPA hit up old Zuckerberg and said, yo, Zuckerfuck,
Right.
we got this totally cool project thing for you. It's like,
I think they knew of it. I think that I'm sure that you think about where he went to school and DARPA and where they like to recruit and things like that. I'm sure there was some familiarity or at least knowledge of it. And I think that it's very possible that some funding, again, there was a great video out on YouTube of all places that kind of showed where certain CEOs of certain companies that, bankrolled Facebook and stuff like that, and how you can follow them all back to different government agencies and stuff. It's conspiracy theory bullshit, right? But it was kind of interesting. And facts, when it comes to that, facts are facts. Either they did or they did not sit on a board and have any sort of,
Well, at that point, it's not necessarily that, Facebook or any of the rest of these were some sort of big conspiracy theory where they want to find out about you and it's a big brother thing. It's like, they were trying to get it on the back end sneaky like. What they had no idea was that people would want to share photos of their fucking breakfast, lunch, dinner, dog.
But that still builds a profile.
Fucking engagement photos.
It still builds a profile about you.
Right, exactly. It does. But the thing is because people went from, they're trying to take my data to, I want to show everybody else. Right. It just more or less made LifeLog irrelevant.
To some degree, sure.
It's like it would have been dumb. It's like, hey, we've got we can either manage and maintain this and try to build in a bunch of shit on the backside to sniff these people data without them knowing, or we can go out and poll these 16 places who are pulling these people's data with their permission, and we just get a back door through those guys. It saves them a fuckload of
time,
trouble.
Money, energy, right? And plausible deniability, right? Government can say, whoa, We didn't take your fucking data. You gave it to Facebook. Now it says in their TOS that they can do whatever the fuck they want with it. If they choose to hand it over to the CIA or the feds or the FBI, sorry about your luck, Sparky. You signed off on that, right?
Yes, Sparky.
Sparky.
Sorry about your luck.
And that's kind of in a semi-interesting segue about TOS is that now I was reading a lot of people were familiar with the makers of Fortnite. Was Epic Games, I think it is.
Yep.
And
Epic
they're
Games,
embroiled
North Carolina.
Embroiled in this battle with Apple over what they can and cannot do on Apple's platform. Well, now there is a new coalition, and it is primarily made up of Spotify, Epic Games, and there were a couple more that I don't even know if I was familiar with. And anyway, they're saying it's not fair that they charge 30% to be on their platform, and that they steal ideas from them. And basically, app developers, in order for the good of the user, should be able to do whatever they want on Apple's platform. And I kind of feel like that's similar to setting up a picnic table inside of a Walmart and saying, I can be here. It's Apple's fucking platform, people, right? And you signed that TOS.
Devil's advocate here. You buy a phone from Apple for fucking way too much money, right?
Right.
And then Apple tells you what you can and cannot put on your own phone that you just bought from them.
Yes and no, but that's but that's not really what the developers are railing against. Right?
No, but it is kind of fucked that, like on Android, you can go through the Play Store or you can download the installer and just install the fucking game.
Which is why Android is rife with malware and garbage, right? But the thing is their laptops are somewhat.
But it's your choice. It's your choice.
Well, that is true.
I don't think security. I don't think you should lock someone's options down in the name of security. It just seems a little.
But it was also my choice to buy an iPhone versus an Android and make that choice. I make that choice. I've been using them since 2007 when they came out, and I've used Androids, and I've used Palm, BlackBerry, and of them all, iOS and the Apple hardware work together seamlessly, and I've never had any issues. I rarely reboot them, etc. I had an old HTC Windows phone that you had to reboot about 3 times a day. Used it for work.
Well, they have to make an OS that'll work on anything. That's why it doesn't work.
Right. Just like
great.
Well, just like, people complain about the amount of processing power you have to run Windows versus like Mac OS. Well, Mac OS is built. It only has to support one kind of chip and one kind of keyboard and one kind of whatever. So they don't have a ton of drivers and shit, and they're getting mixed up. Android did the same thing. And here's the thing. I'm not really bagging on Android. I like to give people shit because I really enjoy watching people get upset over it. Plus, if you look, Android still has the lion's share of the market, believe that or not, right? And it's still a good platform. It's a solid platform. And most importantly, I want to see them survive because I want to make sure that Apple always has competition. Yeah. Competition is important.
Competition is good and healthy. It's like I don't have because I've been an Android user for a long time, and since I was born in redneck land. It kind of reminds me of the old Chevy, Ford, whatever debates. One was crap. The other was just the greatest thing since sliced bread. And you got a bunch of people that are in their own camps trying to justify their own purchases. The biggest problem that I've had with Apple for a long time has been their and I understand that it's also a feature, but their end-to-end control of devices, and specifically as it relates to getting your device repaired, because I am a firm believer that when I buy something and I pay money for it, it is my device, regardless if I want to use it what it was intended for or if I want to take a giant dump on it and douse it in lighter fluid and light it on fire. It's
So
mine. I
is
paid
Samsung
for it.
any different?
I could.
I said
Yes,
Samsung because
most
they're like
Android.
99.8% of the Android
Yeah,
market.
you can actually repair a Samsung.
Gotcha.
The battery
Right.
comes out.
See, the thing is you can take your Samsung and go, and let's say you do something as innocuous as breaking your screen. And screen repairs are, ubiquitous across phones, different parts, but everybody's going to have a screen that's going to break eventually, and you'll take it somewhere to get it repaired. Well, the thing is if you turn around and you take that to your local repair shop that's around the corner because it's convenient, you called them up, they told you they could do it for $80. You didn't want to fuck with taking it to the Apple store or what have you. There are things that Apple has put into play on something innocuous as a screen repair, to where if you're not running a certain version of software or what have you, that you basically turn around and lock down your own phone because you went and got it repaired at some place that wasn't specifically an Apple authorized repair center. Or even if you do take it to an Apple authorized repair center, the corporation by and large wants you to turn around and buy another device because that makes them more money than fixing your shit does. So planned obsolescence is part of their business model, and that is the sole issue that I have with them. If you want to buy into the ecosystem because it works great between your Air, your MacBook Air that you have at your house, and you've got everything fully integrated, I totally get all of that. And if you want to pay a premium for that and that's what you want to do, go for it. Hey, if it makes your life simpler, makes you a happier person, I'm all about it. The problem I have is with the planned obsolescence and the right to repair.
I've never heard of anybody having trouble getting an iPhone screen replaced. I mean, there are other bits and pieces.
The old home button, it would do that.
But will an Android
Christ.
mute when you're doing a podcast? Apparently
Will
not.
it?
That's not a
Will it?
feature.
Yeah,
No, apparently
putting
not.
it on do
Okay,
not
No,
disturb.
no.
good.
Twofer.
You know how
There
only
we go.
old people have fucking sounds on their phones anymore. What's wrong with
Yeah, I heard you. I heard your phone the other day, Dan. It kept
you?
going off with,
Yeah.
what the fuck is your notification noise? It's like,
Uh-huh. I did that because we were waiting on those pizzas, and I didn't want to miss it. It's the
oh,
old,
yeah, so, wow.
it's the old uh-oh from ICQ. Uh-oh.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
my boss heard it and just stared at me. He was like, really? I was like, yep. I was very proud of myself when I downloaded that. I used to work on iPhones actually up into about the 4, I think it was 4 or 5, and they did this integrated thing with the glass and the digitizer. And it wasn't that you couldn't work on them; they just became incredibly difficult to work on. And again, I don't blame Apple for that. I blame my desire to want to fuck with it. And people would hand me their phone, and for the most part, I could work on them. And once it got to about the 4 or 5, I stopped. The last time I worked on my iPhone X, I melted the camera lens and had to buy a brand new. Well, I didn't have to. I could have probably figured something out, but I went and got an 11. I still have the X, and I bought a new camera for it. And this winter, when I'm sitting around bored, I'm going to pop that fucker open and swap it out. I watched a couple videos on it. I will say that I had an issue with that phone before I melted it, where the camera was jerking real bad, and it was, you could hear a motor in there kind of moving around. So I emailed Apple, and they were really cool about it. I sent it in. They fixed that and swapped my battery out just because it was only charging like 80% or something. So I have had good luck with their repair and their swapping them out. I had a 4 that went a little weird on me. And the kid looks at it, he goes, yeah, okay. Reaches in a drawer and pulls out a new one and says, here you go. And I was all bowed up. You know how it is when you walk in and you gotta, you feel like you're gonna have to fight with somebody over a return or something. And I walked in all bowed up and I was like, yeah, the screen does this thing. And he looks and he goes, oh, you mean like that? It did it right as I showed it to him. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's weird. Turns around, pulls out, and they're refurbs. They give you refurbs back, which I'm fine if I've got a phone that's a year or two old and it's still under warranty and you give me a refurb because my phone was not new anymore. Now, if I walked out.
Oh, wow. So two of us can't turn our phone on.
So oddly enough, that was my iPad ringing when my phone rang. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, suck it, Dan. That's all I've got to say about that.
I deserve that, Doug. I deserve that. There's something to be said if I get something, I take it home and immediately it's junk. It's like, no, I ain't taking a fucking refurb. It's in the car. I didn't drive it off the lot. But at some point later on down the line, but I'm like Doug. I don't care what you use. Samsungs make great phones. Android makes a good operating system. It's all on how you set it up and how you use it. I like because we use at work we use Macs and PCs, and there's a constant battle between us, and it's all really just fun. At least for me, it is. If I can get a Mac user worked up over why Mac sucks, I am going to do it, right? I am going to drive them batty. Do I think Macs suck? No. I had a MacBook and I've got a Mac Mini. I've got an iPad. I've got an iPhone. I have a lot of their stuff, but I have a PC because I like to game and use, the thing about Macs is unless you want to get one of the really high dollar PCs is that they're very geared towards laptops and mobility. And I hate laptops. I have a PC that I hate fucking using.
Apple's all like, yeah, you want a game, bro? Okay, yeah, we'll totally build you your own special Mac. It's only going to cost you $8,250. Right? And by $8,250, I mean $8,250.
You probably still couldn't game on it. You'd have limited gaming options. And so that's why I stick with PC. Plus, I've been using a PC since Windows 3. I used 3 point for a little while. Windows.
I'm not familiar with that
Windows
edition.
XP.
It was right after Bob.
Yeah.
Right after Windows Bob.
Windows Bob, then Windows Fuck, and then Windows XP, which I was just reading. Supposedly, someone leaked the source code for Windows XP, which I thought was kind of interesting. Because honestly, all the way up through Windows 10 has been built on the back of XP. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I've used Linux. I've used so many different flavors of Linux. I'm really surprised somebody hasn't built I was going to say a Linux-based phone, but if you think about it, the iPhones are Unix-based, so they're
and Android is on Linux.
Is it Linux or Unix-based?
Yes, it's Linux-based.
Linux, okay. So there you go. Fuck me. Goes to show how much I've dug into Android, right? But again, I don't care what a person uses if it works for them. Good, right? That's all I care about is that your device does what you need it to do. But I'm also right, like you said, Ford and Chevy. I'm a Harley owner, so of course I have to hate all metric bikes. Well, the problem is I don't. I love fucking Hondas and Ducatis and Kawasaki's. I just love motorcycles, right? I'm a Nikon user, but I give Canon users holy hell whenever I have the opportunity. But you know what? I'd use a Canon just as easy. I took some photography classes in high school, and I had an old Pentax back then. And then the guy who kind of got me back into it and was a professional photographer used Nikon. So what do here, use my camera. Try this out. Do this. Well, you get familiar with it. That's all it is. It's familiarity. Both Canon and Nikon both have absolutely phenomenal hardware, lenses, etc. It doesn't matter what you use. I've seen guys.
Canon's better, dude. Get the fuck out of here.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Fuck you. This is when the day that the podcast ended, when Adam and Dan couldn't agree on what hardware. I've seen guys.
I'm done with this podcast.
I'm done. I'm out. Chase Jarvis did a book back around the iPhone 4 and then created an app. It was all kind of tied together. And he did a book where he did nothing but iPhone, what do they call it? iPhone-tography. And his pictures, I know, right?
No.
Right? iPhone-tography. His
Ugh.
pictures were still better than anything I can do with a $4,000, Nikon or Canon. So he had a series after that on YouTube that was kind of fun, and he would get these professional photographers, guys that I followed on different social media, and he would give them the cheapest cameras he could find. And like one time it was a Hello Kitty digital camera. It was like 1.3 megapixel, shit like that. And one was a Lego camera. And again, these guys still composition wise had better photos than I could take with a $5,000 camera. Right. It was like,
Well, dude, I tried to get into it for a while, and white balance will kick my ass all the time. Because I'll see a thing and I want and the really masterful thing about photography is, just about everybody out there has seen a beautiful sunset, a beautiful thing, and you get your camera and you think, I want to capture this moment. And you take a picture, and what the camera captures is not what you're seeing. Visually, all the stuff is there, yes, but the colors are all fucked up, or it's too light, it's too dark, it's, and it is just like the other day. I went to Top Golf with Adam, and I was going to take a video of him, and because he was the subject, and obviously we're in a covered area, and the sun had everything lit up outside. Adam looked like he was a ninja in the shadows playing golf.
I thought you said it didn't look like real life.
That's just the way it's going to work out.
right.
And it's super hard to get that white balance. I mean, even with a modern digital camera, modern digital camera is going to try to compensate for what it sees light-wise and color-wise, and it takes your better photographers to say, well, I know the camera's going to do this, so let me adjust these 14 different settings so I can capture exactly what I'm seeing. Because even as great as modern photography is, it's still going to try to compensate with its own little program that it's got going on, and it is not what's happening in your eyes.
And what you described is actually more related to exposure and dynamic range. And the human eye, I love when people say 8K, human eye can't even process 8K. I'm like, you might want to do the fucking math, brother.
The human eye is analog.
I forget what is analog.
There's no fucking K to a fucking human eye.
No, but there was a group that did sort of a study, if you will, on like how many megapixels the human eye would be if it was, and it's phenomenal. But what the human eye can do that a camera can't is just like Doug was saying, that dynamic range between black and white. The sun, I can see Adam under the shadow, and I can still make out his features. I still know that he's there. Plus, my brain can process the sun and bring sort of a middle ground. You're right, a camera doesn't, right? It can't do that. And so when I see people talk about how the camera is better than the human eye and all that, it's like, I don't know about all that. So, but yeah, that's HDR, and a lot of phones now will do HDR, and some of them do a really neat job of they lighten those dark spots and then
Which
bring
president was that?
What?
Heleanor
D. Roosevelt. Yeah.
Heleanor, huh?
Heleanor. It's the best I could come up with, man. Heleanor D. Roosevelt.
I found that funnier than it was.
You usually do that.
I really do. I really fucking do.
Adam amuses himself a lot, actually. So that's
H is in Heleanor.
Heleanor. Was it the mnemonic alpha mnemonics that we have? Shit. Well, I can't
All
remember.
the fake
J,
phonetic alphabet.
J as in jalapeno. That's my favorite.
T as in tsunami.
Yeah, T as in tsunami. Well, gentlemen, I got nothing else, and apparently I got to go find a part for my bike. So
Don't call me a gentleman.
I used it very loosely. So
Okay, good.
I'm going to do a couple of things, and I'm probably going to hit you guys up and see if you want to go eat.
Yes, I'm down to hit. Let's go hit the food truck.
Yeah, food trucks seem like a...
I got some errands and shit to run, so
No
I'll have
one
to take a
gives
pass
a
this
fuck
time.
what you thought you were doing with the rest of your day, Doug.
I care, Doug.
Who
I care.
cares?
You can tell me. You can ping me on the side and tell me.
All right, Adam, give us some of that pimp fucking outro music. Please stop. For the love of God. No more. I can't take it.